My sister stole $8,200 from my account and smirked, "You'll be fine." By morning, she faced a lawyer's letter that changed everything. I was 32, when my life took a turn I never expected, all because of my own sister. That morning started like any other. I was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee slowly, thinking about my day ahead, when my phone buzzed with a notification. Normally, I would have ignored it because my bank sent small alerts all the time. But something about this message made my heart beat faster. It was an alert about a withdrawal. Not a small amount, but a huge one. $8,200 had left my account just the day before. I almost dropped my coffee mug. I opened the banking app immediately, my hands shaking as I waited for the page to load. What I saw made my stomach sink. There were dozens of transactions that I did not recognize. Transfers to a strange account name, payments to designer stores, luxury boutiques, and fancy restaurants that I would never spend money on myself. I scrolled back further, and the pattern reached back 3 months. At first, it had been smaller amounts, $50, $100, just enough to slip by without me noticing. But then it grew larger and larger until thousands were gone. My eyes landed on the account name again. It was saved under a nickname that made my blood run cold. Sis Spending. I knew immediately who it was. My sister. 2 years ago, during her divorce, I had given her a secondary card for emergencies only, just to help her in case she needed gas or groceries. I never imagined she would use it like this. I called the bank right away, hoping somehow it was a mistake. But the representative on the phone confirmed what I already feared. Someone with direct access to my account information had been systematically stealing money. That someone was my sister. Without thinking twice, I drove straight to her apartment. My mind was racing as I tried to put together all the clues I had ignored earlier. For weeks she had been showing off new clothes, talking about spa visits, and posting pictures of fancy dinners. When I had asked how she was affording it all, she had smiled and told me she got a better job. I believed her. I was even proud, thinking she was finally rebuilding her life after the divorce. But when she opened the door that day, wearing a designer dress I didn't recognize and holding shopping bags from stores I could never afford, the truth hit me hard. I confronted her immediately. I pulled up the banking app and showed her the transactions. At first, her face changed quickly, from surprise to guilt, and then to something that shocked me more than anything else: annoyance. She crossed her arms and told me calmly that she had been meaning to talk to me about borrowing some money. She said she was going through a rough patch and thought I would understand. The way she spoke made me feel like I was the one in the wrong for even questioning her. I told her straight to her face that this was not borrowing. It was theft. I explained that she had taken over $8,000 in just 3 months. Instead of looking sorry, she smirked. Yes, she actually smirked. Then she said something that made my blood freeze. She told me I would be fine because I made more money anyway. She reminded me of my recent promotion and said I was being overdramatic about what to her was just pocket change. At that moment, something changed in me. I realized this was not an accident or a moment of bad judgment. This was planned. She had been watching my finances, taking small amounts at first, then increasing them slowly so I would not notice. I told her she needed to pay back every penny right away. Her response left me speechless. She said she couldn't because she had already spent it. Then she had the nerve to suggest I should think of it as helping family. She even called me selfish for making a big deal out of it. I walked out without another word and drove straight to our parents' house. I found my father in his workshop and told him everything. I showed him the bank statements, the timeline, the transactions, even screenshots of the account nickname that proved it was her. I expected anger, maybe even support, but his reaction was worse than hers. He barely looked at the evidence before dismissing it. He told me it was just a mistake, that family shouldn't fight over money, and that my sister probably didn't realize how much she was spending. He said I should work it out with her directly. I tried to make him understand. $8,000 was not a mistake. She had admitted to it and showed no remorse. But instead of standing with me, he got angry at me. He said I was too rigid with money and that I should be the bigger person since my sister was still recovering from her divorce. In that moment, something broke inside me. I realized that for years, I had been the family safety net, the one expected to absorb losses, to fix problems, to be strong when others made mistakes. But when I became the victim, I was asked to just accept it. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I spent hours researching my options, speaking to a lawyer friend who specialized in financial crimes. She told me clearly that what my sister did counted as fraud and identity theft, even if we were family. She offered to write a formal demand letter. Then I called the bank's fraud department, and they guided me through steps to reverse the transactions and secure my account. The representative told me family fraud happened more often than people realized. Before the sun rose the next morning, I had already made my moves. I filed fraud claims on every transaction, canceled my sister's card, changed all my passwords, and set up strong security. I authorized my lawyer friend to send my sister a formal demand letter, giving her 15 days to repay the full amount or face legal action. Along with that letter, the bank sent her a fraud investigation notice. By the time she opened her inbox later that morning, she had 2 emails waiting, one from me and one from a lawyer's office. And that was only the beginning. The next morning, my phone began ringing before the sun even rose. It was 6 o'clock when I saw my sister's name flashing across the screen. She had just opened the emails, one from the bank informing her of the fraud investigation, and another with a legal demand letter from my lawyer. Her voice exploded through the speaker, full of rage. She screamed that I was destroying our family over just money. She accused me of being cold and vindictive, saying she never believed I would actually go this far. I let her vent, remaining calm. Then I reminded her of the day before, when she had smirked at me and told me I would be fine because I made more money. I reminded her of how she had dismissed my pain and my concern. She went silent for a moment before changing her tone completely. Suddenly, she was crying, saying she had been stressed and had made poor choices. She begged me to stop the legal process, promising to pay me back slowly if I just gave her time. But I told her firmly that the deadline in the letter was final. She had 15 days to repay in full, or we would move forward legally. Not long after that call, my father phoned me. His voice was angrier than I had ever heard before. He accused me of tearing the family apart, claiming I should have come to him instead of involving lawyers. He ordered me to drop everything immediately. I asked him plainly if he was willing to pay the $8,200 himself since he wanted me to forgive my sister's debt. Silence filled the line for nearly a minute before he finally admitted he did not have that kind of money. I pointed out that neither did I, which was exactly why I needed the money returned. The conversation ended harshly. He accused me of choosing money over family, and I replied that my sister made that choice the moment she stole from me, while he made his when he called it a mistake. The 15 days passed without a single payment. During that time, my sister called me repeatedly. One call would be full of rage, the next full of tears, but none brought any real solutions. I stopped answering after a while, and my lawyer filed the civil suit for the full amount plus legal fees. At the same time, the bank continued reversing transactions as part of the fraud investigation. Then, 2 weeks later, my sister showed up at my apartment with my parents. Together, they tried to present what they called a family solution. They suggested that my sister could pay me $200 each month until the debt was cleared, and in return, I would drop the legal case. I did the math out loud. At that rate, it would take more than 3 years to repay the principal alone, not including the extra costs I had already paid because of overdraft fees and damaged credit. I told them the offer was not acceptable. That was when my sister finally broke down. Through tears, she admitted she had been living far beyond her means since the divorce. She had tried to maintain the lifestyle she once had with her ex-husband. When she saw my financial stability, she convinced herself that taking some of my money was justified. Hearing that admission was both vindicating and heartbreaking. I realized she had been struggling much more than any of us knew, but instead of asking for help, she chose to steal. I offered her a different solution. She could sell the designer clothes, jewelry, and electronics she had bought with my money. Whatever she got from selling them would go toward repaying the debt, and whatever remained would be put on a realistic payment plan with interest. For the first time, she agreed. Over the next 6 weeks, my sister sold off many of the items she had bought. The designer things still had some value, but she had to sell them at a loss. After everything was sold, she still owed me $1,500. During this process, something surprising happened. My father began to see the truth. When he helped my sister sort through bags of designer clothes, expensive shoes, and jewelry, he realized how calculated her spending really had been. A few days later, he called me and apologized. He said he finally understood this wasn't a small mistake but a carefully planned theft. We set up a clear payment plan for the remaining balance, $300 each month for 5 months. This time, she paid every installment on time. By the end of 6 months, she had paid back everything, including the legal fees and extra costs I had suffered. But even with the debt settled, our relationship would never be the same again. My sister started therapy during this period, and she admitted she had been dealing with depression and anxiety since her divorce. She said she convinced herself that taking money from me was fair because I earned more. While we slowly rebuilt some trust, I made it clear that she would never again have access to my accounts or cards, and she accepted that boundary. My father and I also had long, difficult conversations about family and responsibility. He confessed that he had always enabled my sister's behavior because he felt sorry for her, and he finally admitted that dismissing her theft as a mistake had been wrong. We learned something important together. Being family does not mean you have to accept abuse or theft. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold someone accountable, even when it hurts. Today, my sister is working a job that matches her skills, and she lives more carefully within her means. She still has struggles, but now she asks for help instead of taking what is not hers. Looking back, I realized those 2 emails she received that morning changed everything. The fraud notice forced her to face what she had done, and the lawyer's letter showed her that actions have real consequences. It nearly tore our family apart, but in the end, it saved us too. We are now more honest with each other, and we have clear boundaries that make our family stronger. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones that protect us in the long run.